Honestly, if you didn't know I was in England, you could tell just by looking at what I'm wearing, couldn't you, really? It's middle of August. I've got a roll neck jumper. Um, hey ho. But it is a fourth line day. We are in gate 29, the gate of saying yes, the abysmal. And gate 29 in the line 4 is called directness. When you come to the fourth line, you come to the upper trigram, and there is the recognition that heaven is on the other side of the channel, that gate 46 is over there. The lower trigram don't have that awareness. They don't know that. All they know is the deep within the deep, the pressure of all that water. Remember, this is one of those hexagrams that is made up of a repeated trigram. So it's got water over water. And this is an awareness then of the weight of that, the weight of what it can be to live in this world, carrying the world around almost. In the first 3 lines of gate 29, you can meet the most serious people on the planet. The 29, 1, 2, and 3 can be very serious people. And there's nothing wrong with that, of course. It's the design. There's no judgment here. They have a deep recognition that this body has to deal with all kinds of difficulties as it moves through the world. And it isn't always fun. When you get to the fourth line, there's a little bit of fresh air coming in through the window. They have the ability to look across the channel and see that there's something else out there and they're not alone in this. And that's quite a different thing. So the lifetime learning, it says the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. This fixedness of the fourth line. That's where I'm going, straight up. I'm getting out of this water. I'm getting out of this way. I am going to triumph in this process. The exaltation says the wisdom to use the simplest and most direct approach to solve difficulties. The power to commit oneself to the simplest and most direct process. And these are people who can really say no. Of all the 6 variations of the gate of saying yes, the fourth line here knows how to say no. What it's externalizing is that what it is ready to commit to will be of advantage to the collective. So it will say no to anything that doesn't fit into its fixed externalizing commitment. I only make commitments to saving blackbirds. I'm not interested in saving dogs. I will not go there. Do not distract me. I'm very fixed here. I will not say yes to dogs. I am into blackbirds. Direct and fixed and focused. This exaltation mentions solving difficulties. This is a word used above the lines as well at the beginning, the deep within the deep. Persistence despite difficulties has its inevitable rewards. For the first time, we have a confrontation with the difficulties. Here is the ability to be fixed in your persistence and go right through the difficulties, and you do it with discipline and with restraint. In the detriment, simplicity and directness all too often seen as inharmonic and aesthetically crude. The power of directness often offends others. How true. These are people who have their commitment, and if you try to pull them away, or you try to interfere with that, or you try to change something about that, they can be quite direct and quite nasty. Fourth lines have the wave keynote of kindness and meanness. And this can be a flow that they travel through. And remember, the secret of the abstract process is once you make a commitment, you have to surrender to the experience. Otherwise, you derive no value from it. It has to be allowed to take its fullness in the cycle. So if you're in the middle of doing something and somebody comes up to you and starts to bug you about doing something else, perfectly fine for you to tell them to disappear. It may come out as being very rude, but after all, you're here to be in the experience, to be fixed in the experience and not distracted. Otherwise, when you get to the end of the day and you lie down in your bed at night, you're not going to get any wisdom from the experience that you've had. You won't get the revelation of what you've been through. You don't get the answer to the problems that you've met. This is the secret. And there's something kind of ironic about the existential nature of the circuitry of the abstract, in that it's actually activity itself that's the thing. It's much more existential than individuality, that in has the existential nature of the integration system, and that's what we associate it with in that sense. But abstract people are very existential. They're basically not in touch with anything that's going on while they're having an experience. They're totally involved in it, in that now process of the experience. They've committed to it, and they're in it, and that's the magic. And they can know so much about that experience if they just act like that. And then they can come later and reflect on it and make sense out of the confusion of it all. That's all part of the cycle. Directness is really important, because what it's saying is I have made a commitment to this thing. And as long as I'm surrendered to it, then I'm going to learn so much about it. So don't you come in here and bother me. And the other thing is, of course, that people who are 29-4s, the quality and the depth of their commitment is influential and contagious to others. It's a funny thing about the collective, one of its major keynotes is sharing. And people who do not share are always considered rude, because you're expected to share. And yet it's not always how you're designed to operate. There are many little paradoxes and conundrums in the chart. And we're grounded here in the gate 30 in the line 4, which is called burnout. This is a classic fourth line keynote. The fourth line is very, very social, and yet it also gets people fatigue. And that's the balance, that's the duality. Perhaps burnout gives us a chance to look at what we have committed to reassess whether it was correct for us or not. Burnout brings the need to stop, to step back, to support the directness of the 29-4 as it uses its ability to say no. Today is potentially quite an emotional day. We have 4 solar plexus gates as we go through the moon. So really be aware of your own inner authority, and maybe see how easy it is for you to get pulled into emotional drama as it gets played out in the world. And look at all your own activations. If you've got an open solar plexus, usually, do any of these moon activations today give you definition? If so, how does that feel? So to begin with, the moon is still in the solar plexus tribal gate 49, the gate of principles, correcting any imbalances in resource distribution. This is the equitable apportionment kind of thing. Then it moves into the abstract gate 30 at 1458. And this is our earth gate currently, of course, the gate of feelings, finding balance through surrender to what life brings and accepting its limitations, to letting go of expectations and recognizing the feelings that lead to the potential for change, whether they fulfill our dreams or not. By entering into experiences guided by inner authority, we can avoid the burnout and the disappointment that follows when we act blindly. Then the next transit is along one channel into the individual gate 55 at just past midnight, 3 minutes past midnight. The gate of abundance, the gate of spirit. This is another gate of surrender. Most of them aren't they really, one way or the other? You're surrendering to the truth of who you are as much as anything else, surrendering to your inner authority. This is the surrender to the momentary mood as we move through the emotional wave from hope to pain, just watching it, being in it without any need to justify it, to find reasons for it, just accepting the simple chemistry of it. And then the final moon transit is tomorrow morning at 9:06. And that's the gate 37, the tribal gate of the family, the gate of friendship, a gate with a strong sense of community and an open and friendly disposition. It easily engages with the other. It enables you to hold the family or community structure together, whilst always looking through that to find the bargain that's going to ensure harmony and mutual support. So a lot to get one's head around today. An interesting transit. Thank you very much for joining me, and go well, go gently, and I will see you for the next one. Okay, let me find my off button. there it is. I use it so much that the writing has come off the keyboard. Okay, see you soon. Take care. Bye bye.